So Dan asked the question, I'm going to ask it again. So what was the most timely way to have Google remove old or incorrect listings for our business? So 2 lawyers who no longer work here, they haven't been there in over a year, are still popping up in Google Maps and search results.
Great. Okay, so basically the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you remove those URLs and that content from the server, right? So that's the first thing that you want to do. And so those pages should result in a 404 page. Once they are removed, Google might continue to still index those pages. The quickest way to get Google to stop indexing those pages after they are removed from the server would be to go to Google Search Console here. And so once you're logged into Google Search Console, let me just kind of pause here for a second, because there's probably people on the call that might not even have Search Console connected to their website. This is imperative. This is one of the most important things that you need when dealing with Google specifically, because this is the only way that Google can communicate with you. I'll talk a little bit more about some of the other things that you'll get from having access to Search Console, but specifically as it relates to this question, so after the pages are removed from the server and they're resulting in 404 pages, if they're still being indexed, what you want to do is you want to go here to Search Console, click on Crawl, okay, and then you're going to click here to Fetch as Google, and then basically you can just go here and, you know, click Fetch. And it's simple. It's going to fetch a new version of your website in real time, and there's a good chance that, you know, in just a couple minutes those pages will be removed from Google's index. And this goes for the opposite too. So if you just, you know, had somebody write a bunch of content on your website, you published a whole bunch of new landing pages, and you want Google to see and index those pages quickly, again, you just do the same thing after all the pages are live. You come here and you can fetch a Google, you know, fetch the Google bot to come to the website. I've even seen where sites are pretty authoritative, you know, meaning that they have really good deep links and backlinks and good content and authority. You know, after you fetch Googlebot, I've seen like people start ranking in Google for some of the terms that those pages are optimized for, literally like a moment after you hit fetch. So this is really good technology. Google is continuing to feed us, so I definitely recommend that you leverage it. So I hope that answers your question. I did want to just talk a little bit more about why this Search Console is important, though. So once you log in, you'll have access to your dashboard here. The cool thing about this is it will tell you specifically if there's any type of you know, problems with your website. So like, for example, if there's any right? So like in this case, it doesn't look like there's really not too much happening on this site. We keep our sites pretty clean, but there might be, you know, 45 or 4,500 pages that for some reason Google isn't crawling correctly. So this is how you would be able to see that. You could also test things like, you know, looking at your sitemap to make sure that that's all set up correctly. If you do have, maybe you have a manual penalty on your website, maybe, you know, somebody that you've hired has done maybe manipulative or spammy link building to the website, you can log in here as well, and typically there would be a message here saying, you know, hey, read this message, and it'll tell you specifically you have a penalty or some type of a manual filter. And then it also shows it right here under manual actions as well. And so you can see, you know, it's just good to know that, you know, your site doesn't have a manual action, and they confirm it back here. So a lot more you can do. You know, maybe we can set up a webinar where we can kind of talk specifically about everything you can do with Search Console, but I just wanted to kind of give a high-level overview.
Awesome, thank you. And for those people that just joined on, go ahead and ask any questions that you might have. Again, Jason just said, you know, this is really informal. It's your opportunity to get any questions that you might be thinking about, wondering if you're thinking about getting a new website, adding another practice area, new business. Ask any SEO question you want. That's why this is SEO Happy Hour. It's your time with Jason Hennessy, our SEO expert. I mean, he's been in it since 2001. So make sure you raise your hands, anything you're thinking about. No question is a bad question. We're here to help out as much as we can. we had another question come in, Jason, and this is a great because yesterday we had one of our client meetings with someone who's not it's a criminal attorney in South Florida, but they're probably, I would say, in the low end of our price range, right? You know, they're not buying a lot of content, they're not doing a lot of SEO, but what they're strictly doing is when we originally developed the website, it had tons of long tail content, a lot of practice area content, and then Jason started doing link building. And this is outside of any, you know, web development, although we're doing web development or blogging. The results for these long tails using Fetch as well, because as soon as we add a new page of content, our team is going to Google and adding all that new content through Google Fetch into Search Console, and we're seeing updates fairly quickly, right, Jason? I mean, yesterday we went through the spreadsheet and we were showing our client all the pages that were coming up already on page 1 just on several months of link building, right?
Yeah, no, it really is. You know, I mean, like, as long as the pages are optimized correctly, you know, and when I say optimized, there's really not a whole lot that goes into optimizing a page correctly these days. You know, there's no more, you know, gone are the days where you're kind of, you know, have to have the keyword density, you know, be at least 7%. I mean, that's how you used to, like, write copy, and I'm sure you guys know this, you know, but, you know, no more, you don't have to do that anymore. You know, Google is much smarter. They're using a lot more artificial intelligence these days. And so, you know, as long as you basically optimize your pages, your landing pages, and when I say optimize, you know, you want the keyword in your URL, you want the keyword in your title tag, you want the keyword within your H tag, so like your header, your H1 tag, your H2 tags, you want, like, you know, semantically related versions of the keywords in there. And so once you kind of have the site set up correctly and it's technically sound of any and all errors, meaning technical errors with the website, it's pretty simple. You know, once you start to build links back to the website and boost the popularity to it, you know, a lot of those long tail phrases start to rise. You know, and it really bothers me when you have SEO companies that are out there and they say, you know, for, let's just say, $500 a month, we'll optimize your website for 15 keywords, and for $1,000 per month, we'll optimize your website for, you know, 35 keywords, and so on and so forth. You know, a good SEO should never, you know, limit the amount of keywords that, you know, they're optimizing a website for, you know, because by you building links back to your website, you want all of these keywords to start to surface. Every single landing page that you've ever built, you know, is going to continue to rise. You know, so, you know, don't ever fall into that trap where, you know, people are billing you based on the amount of keywords that, you know, you're going to be optimized for. So, but just an example, you know, this was just a client, again, you know, not a bigger client of ours, but like all of the different terms that, you know, they're optimizing for, like lewd, battery molestation in St. Petersburg, you know, at the top of Google here, and this is basically kind of like a content strategy that was built. Defense lawyer for child porn, right? They ranked #1 on Google for that. Indecent exposure, right? As I go through this list here, and these were not ranking anywhere before we kind of took over and started the link building. But like indecent exposure in St. Petersburg, they ranked #1 for that term. You know, these are like the terms, you know, that people are typing in when, you know, when they get into trouble. Prostitution attorney in St. Petersburg. Let's see here. They're right there and they're right there. So, you know, and I could just kind of continue to just go straight down this list here with all these different landing pages: credit card fraud, grand theft, telemarketing fraud. You know, and they're all starting to surface. But, you know, this is not by accident. You know, it's definitely by design. You know, we do the keyword research, we figure out what the terms that people are typing, and then, you know, they just start to get indexed, but they're never on the first page, right? And so by building links back to the website, next thing you know, you start to see the movement, and it gets exciting. And she was saying, like, I can't believe, you know, how many calls we're getting, you know, as a result of this. And that's why we do this. You know, that's why we do this. So.
And so 2 things here real quick, Jason. I'd like if you could click on one of the pages, because something that comes up all the time is you touched on how the page should be optimized. Can
Sure.
you go from the URL all the way down? You know, we always fix URLs for people. They shouldn't be capital. So if you want to touch on that before we answer the next question on here, and kind of go through that optimization on what they should be looking for through the page design.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, most importantly, you want the URL to show up with within the URL. You want the page to show up with the URL, right? So, the keywords in there, right? So that's important. Second thing would be, this is referred to as an H1 tag. You couldn't see it here, but if I looked at the source code, I would show you that it's actually an H1 tag. So an H1 tag is it's essentially like a newspaper headline. It's one of the first things that Google crawls to understand the relevance of any particular page. And so obviously we wanted to make sure that we put that keyword within the headline of the page, the H1 tag. Then, of course, we try to get, different versions of that same term within these are called H2 tags, right? We also want to link out to other websites that potentially, cite some of the things that we reference on the page as well. And so, that's the beautiful thing about, We Do Web Content is for so many years, we've been writing, or Alex and his team have been writing, copy for attorneys, that we kind of got this down to a science now. Formatted correctly, and then some internal links that are going back to the page, and then something else that you can see is the meta description, which is in the code, and so the meta description is right here, like seeking an aggressive defense lawyer for child porn. Right, in St. Petersburg. So you can see how Google is bolding that stuff, right? So they're bolding it in the URL, right? They're bolding it in the title tag, and then they're bolding it in the meta description. So, there's a reason why, they're bolding that. And so you want to pay attention to that when you're kind of using your own strategy and trying to optimize your site for long-tail keywords. So.
Awesome. Thanks so much for showing that, Jason. So I'm going to go to Eric's question that came in. We get these all the time. Google Local is so important, so thanks for asking, Eric. If you have multiple offices on Google Local, are Google reviews linked to an individual office, or do they show up on all the office locations?
So if it's set up correctly, they should show up on the specific office. And if you think about it, like if you think about like a Pizza Hut that might be in Hollywood, and maybe it's a franchise, and maybe somebody else owns a Pizza Hut in, let's just call it like just downtown Los Angeles. If I've got bad service for my business, my Pizza Hut, I'm always late and whatnot, and people start to leave bad reviews for me, that shouldn't reflect on the Pizza Hut that's in Los Angeles. So if it's set up correctly, the reviews will be specifically related to that office. So I hope that answers that question for you. But again, it's a matter of making sure that it is set up correctly, that's half the battle. I mean, it's a real pain, especially when you have multiple offices, and now there's a new update. It's the Google Possum update. That also makes it a little bit more challenging, and so there's I've seen that with Possum, which only came out I want to say 3 weeks, maybe a month ago. If you have multiple attorneys in the same building, I've seen some of them actually get knocked off the search results because it appears that it's like a form of manipulation. Because, there was so many attorneys that were manipulating Google, and they would basically set up a new Google local page for every attorney, and then basically set them up within the same office, but give them a unique suite number so that they can take more bites of the same apple. And for a long time that worked, up until recently with this Possum update, and so now, unfortunately it makes it a lot more challenging if you have multiple attorneys within the same building on the same floor. You know, they're not falling for that anymore. So.
Perfect, thanks. Follow-up question. If you change your office address, do you lose the reviews linked to it?
Again, you know, as long as you set it up correctly, you will not lose the reviews. And that makes a lot of sense because, you know, let's just say you have that works positive and negative, right? So if let's just say you have 50 bad reviews, well, just by changing your office doesn't necessarily mean that you'll lose all of those reviews, you know, and in most cases they'll follow you. Because it's based upon, like, you know, your phone number, your address. Like, there's a lot of other signals that Google is seeing. No, you won't lose the reviews. I'm just trying to think here. There's also a lot of different citations that's a real pain. You know, when you move offices, I mean, sometimes it almost makes sense to try to just renew your lease because of, like, Google Local, because it's such a challenge when you change offices, you know, especially if you've been there for a long time and every single citation on the web is confirming that you are at this address. You've got to go in, you've got to clean it up, you've got to reach out to Avo and FindLaw and Justia and ask them to change the address, and it's just a real pain in the butt. Definitely, you know, if you have to move, you have to move, but they don't make it easy, I'll tell you that.
And I don't know if everyone that's on the call today was on 2 weeks ago, but we also talked about AMP, Accelerated Mobile Pages project. You want to touch on that real quick?
Yeah, AMP is the it's the future of mobile search. It really is. Let me kind of, and like just yesterday, Google, you know, every time you follow, like, if there's a guy by the name of John Mueller he works at Google. If you are familiar with, like, SEO, you've probably heard of Matt Cutts. You know, maybe his name has been passed around the office or you've heard of him. He used to be, like, the head of Google Web Spam, and so his job was to kind of fight spammers. He was the only voice for, you know, webmasters and SEOs that we can kind of try to get information from. So he's since left and he now works for the government, but John Mueller is kind of his successor. And you know, if you ever follow John Mueller's tweets, it seems like, you know, every third tweet has something to do with AMP. And so he's really excited about that. Everybody at Google is excited about that. So basically, AMP is something that I can't really show you from my desktop because it's you know, it's a mobile application. So, but I could show you. Like yesterday, they actually released a testing tool, and so this is the testing tool right here. If you just type in, I'm sure, just Google AMP testing tool on Google, you should be able to kind of find this. And so if you set up an AMP page correctly, which everybody on this call should have an AMP version of their website, because again, it is the future. And so I'll explain kind of what that is. This is an AMP version of a page for one of our clients who is a personal injury lawyer out in Atlanta, John Foy & Associates. And so you can kind of see there's not a whole lot of images. It's very, you know, the code is clean. And so what we've done is we've kind of formatted it in the way that that Google has asked us to format this page. And so what happens is Google then gets this page and they take this page, and instead of this being loaded from our server, Google takes it and puts it on their own content delivery network. And so it's going to load a lot faster because Google's pulling it from their own server and not having to go out and to ping our server to kind of collect this data and serve it up. So that's really the big push here. Is Google is trying to push this content so that it loads much faster on a mobile device. And so that's the way that it's set up here. So anyway, that's the tool. It'll tell you whether or not, you know, the page validates. In this case, it has validated correctly. And then they also have a preview tool, so you can see how it's going to look. And so this is an example, and I'm sure you've seen this. Like when you do searches on Google for just about anything nowadays, you know, using a mobile device, you're starting to see these little boxes that scroll horizontally now, and they say AMP, right? And so this will actually show you a preview of kind of what your AMP page will look like. At first, it was mostly for like news-related searches. But they've since kind of applied that to, you know, every other page as well, landing pages. I haven't really seen e-commerce pages yet. I'm not sure what the solution will be for that. But again, I really, if I could put you know, stock in, you know, in AMP, you know, I'd probably put like most of my portfolio in this technology, because this is the future of mobile search.
Awesome. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? So make sure you use the tool and check to see if you have AMP on your site. If not, feel free to reach out if you haven't already done so. It's important that you check the technical health of your website. We're offering free SEO audits. We always do them for people that come through. We even work, you know, some of the other agencies that are out there. We'll do consulting and work directly with them just to make sure your website's healthy, and you know, we're happy to help in on our end, whether it's developing a content strategy, link building strategy, or just doing consulting as an ambassador for your firm with the current agency that you're working with. So if we don't have any other questions, we'll go ahead and start closing this out.
Well, I've got a couple.
Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on, Jason?
Yeah, you know, I guess, you know, everybody's on this call. You know, I would just be curious to know, you know, is everybody on this call that's listening, like, do you guys have like a link strategy, a content strategy? Are you guys happy with it? Do you want me to kind of take a look at your link strategy? You know, I'm happy to do that. You know, again, I'm sure you'll learn a lot from this. So if anybody out there wants me to kind of look at their site now publicly, I'm happy to do that. Just pop it into the Q&A section. So putting people on the spot.
Yeah.
While they're doing it, I'll just kind of share one of our sites.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is a site we built, LosAngelesDUIattorney.com. The site does very well right now. Let me just kind of pull up this tool here. All right. All right. So this site was we started to work on this site from scratch back in October of last year, so it's just about a year old. We have 167 referring domains, yet the site ranks for 18,000 keywords, right? It's a lot of keywords. If I look at the traffic for this website, let me open this up here. Bear with me. Just opening up on another screen, so bear with me here. All right, let's see, sign in. Here we go. All right. All right, so let's see here. All right, so this site, this Los Angeles DUI website, again, it's only focused on DUI in Los Angeles. No criminal defense terms at all. 20,000 sessions in the last month. This is pretty big. So on average, we're getting like 854 visits in one day to this website. It's pretty powerful. It's because SEO was done perfectly right here. All the landing pages were built out. You know, I think we're using, hold on, Google Markup. So like if you see that, like how long does a DUI stay on your record? We're actually within the Google markup as well. So they're actually publicly displaying like our content there now. And it's just because the site is so powerful. So let me just see something else here. Let me pull this back up here. So like, and this was a really smart strategy. We used all the different vehicle codes that we're ranking for, checkpoint. I muted myself there for a second. So, if anybody wants us to kind of take a look at their site now, we can kind of show you, just how well it's performing. So, but if not, it's certainly perfectly okay too. I just wanted.
Yeah, if you don't want to do it publicly, you can always go to our website and sign up for the free audit.
Any other questions?
Other people joined in. Any other questions? This crowd needs a drink.
No, really.
Anything? No? No one wants to volunteer their site? Okay.
No worries.
So if you haven't seen any of the other webinars, the software program or the program that Jason was just using is Ahrefs. It's great for, I think there's a free 30-day that you can use to spy on some of your competitors and see what links they have. That's also a very helpful tool that you can use. We use it quite a bit for, reverse engineering our clients and finding out and showing our current clients how they're moving up in search and as far as keywords going up or down, and then as well as any links that have been built.
Yeah.
But again, yeah. Cool. So, well, thank you so much for joining us. If no one has any other questions, we greatly appreciate you showing up. Hopefully you're learning quite a bit. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a special guest, Eric Enga from Stone Temple. He won SEO Marketer of the Year award recently. He works really closely with what was the gentleman from Google?
Gary
that we were talking about?
Oh, John Mueller?
John Mueller and Gary.
Yeah.
So, it'll be nice to have him as a guest. We're still trying to figure out a topic, but make sure you guys sign in for that one because it's going to be a special event. We're going to have two SEO students, Jason and Eric, on here, so it's going to be some exciting, nerdy stuff. I'm sure you'll learn a lot. Again, thank you. Happy Friday. Enjoy your weekend. If you need anything, feel free to contact us, and we are here to help.
All right. Thanks, guys.